3 days after the first Trigger Happy, stood up and went, "Hello, I'm on a train." And I was like, hell, what has happened? And it's been very weird since. I don't think there's been a single day, I swear to you. Just now, when I was walking down there, bloke just shouted, "Hello, I'm in King's Cross." It's rubbish. Every day.
What kind of drew you? Because people wouldn't, like, you're massively famous for Trigger Happy.
For dressing as a squirrel.
It's funny though, isn't it? And then, so were you, what came first, the sort of obsession with travel, or did this sketch show just appeared in your head? What was the...
Oh, so comedy came completely by chance to me. So I think most people do stupid stuff normally first, and then they get more serious. I was serious. Like in my 20s, I was a diplomat in Prague. I was there when Czechoslovakia split up, probably responsible for it because I was a rubbish diplomat. I worked at ITN as a producer. Like I had a pass to Westminster, which is insane that they let me in there. And so I'd always, when I grew up in Lebanon, there were 4 things really that you looked at and thought, well, that's what I want to be: diplomat, spy, foreign correspondent, and travel writer. I might have been all 4, might have not. And I just always, travel writing to me was like this romantic thing. I read all the great travel writers, Patrick Leigh Fermor and Freya Stark. I was obsessed with that. And my parents were very literary in that way. And it was like that was a real cool thing to do. And we used to go off on expeditions into the Syrian desert. So I always thought I'd love to be that or a foreign correspondent. And then my life just, I've had no plan in my life at all. And then Trigger Happy really did almost happen by mistake. And then once Trigger Happy happened, it opened all these doors for me. So suddenly the Sunday Times said, "Would you like to write an article?" And the first article I wrote, I'd read this amazing article about the tallest redwood in Northern California. And what's interesting about Northern California is, even though it's in California, it's just like it's a rogue place, and it's full of like wild people growing hash and stuff. And the tallest redwood in the world is in the middle of a hash plantation. So if you want to visit it, you get blindfolded and taken. The story was so amazing. And then climbing up this. So I went beyond the redwood curtain and wrote that article. And I think the Sunday Times liked it. They started taking me on more and more. And I thought, God, this is what I love doing. So if you ask me right now, what would I, if there was one thing, because I do so many different things, if there's one thing you could do, it would be travel right.
Yeah.
But I need to kill Bill Bryson first.
Which, again, given the way that, murder is such a... People love it.
What murder?
That feels like that's
Richard Osman's new show.
Exactly.
The Travel Writers Murder Club.
Combines so many things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's true crime and there's travel.
Well,
the only problem, there's no whodunit because we know it's you.
Yeah, that's right. My publisher told me that the 2 things that, if you want a real big hit book, it's Nazis and cats. That's the 2 things you need.
Yeah.
So My Cat the Nazi is coming out next year, which is great.
Exactly.
No, it's not. But
and you get your Nazi cat to kill Bill Bryson.
That would be amazing.
In
an old people in a cat in the Bassey Dogs Home.
Yeah, or I was going to say somewhere peculiar that you've never been, and then it's perfect.
In Guyana, in Jonestown.
There you
go. Yeah. All right, that's my idea, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
God, I'm really enjoying this. Before we move on to the next thing, growing up in Lebanon, when was the first time you saw a squirrel and thought I could do a sketch about that?
You see, that's really weird. So squirrels, firstly, there are no squirrels in Lebanon for a start. So squirrels...
That's my point.
Squirrels were quite a big excitement for me. But the first squirrels I saw were red squirrels, actually. And I was very interested in the great red squirrel, grey squirrel wars of the early 1700s. So that was quite good. I don't know when I thought about squirrels. Weirdly, I'm sure we'll get onto this, but I'm doing a 25th anniversary celebration of Trigger Happy. And as part of that, Sam, who I made Trigger Happy with, is very different from me. He's right on the spectrum, sort of guy that rearranges his CD collections in colours and stuff like that. And he found a whole lot of rushes. And one of the rushes from our pilot, like we had no idea what we were doing when we were making Trigger Happy, but actually the pilot, which was a 15-minute comedy lab, sort of had all the building blocks of what Trigger Happy was going to be. And the first building block was the squirrel and where those fluffy costume ideas came from. And I thought about it for long and hard, and I realised where it came from. It was the Wombles. Because if people ask me, what's the first album you ever bought? I go, oh, probably Low by David Bowie, because I'm very into the sort of Berlin heroin period. The truth is, my first album was the Wombles. They rocked. And they were these clean, nice, lovely things who looked a bit like squirrels. You remember they were on Wimbledon Common and they kept things clean. So the first sketch I ever thought of for Trigger Happy was, wouldn't it be funny if a Womble was having a savage, nervous breakdown on Wimbledon Common and littering? So that's what we did. So I don't know if that's the answer to your thing, but I kind of felt, I've never really seen a squirrel.
The other thing I was thinking about you is, presumably it must be very difficult for you to take any kind of phone call in public. I was thinking about that the other day, particularly if you're struggling with your service.
Yeah.
And But in a similar way, if I saw you on the
Yeah.
phone
Yeah, yeah.
struggling,
Oh, yeah.
it would instantly be funny. In the same way, if you saw Craig David on a date on a Sunday, like it would
Yeah.
just be like,
No. Honestly, I get this all the time.
Of
So
course.
on trains, it's my absolute nightmare.
It
So
must be horrific.
so firstly, I have to think: do I go with it, and do I
Yeah.
just have that ringtone so when it goes off,
Yeah.
everyone's happy,
Yeah.
or do I have it on soft vibrate? And then when I answer, I tend to be overly, so I'm just like, hello, no,
Yeah,
I
of
really,
course.
and everyone's going, yeah, no, look at him like that, yeah.
You can't win. You can't
But there
win.
is part of me just wanting to just scream into it, and everyone's like, "Oh right, it wasn't a character.
Yeah.
He's just a twat." Like that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my favourite story about Trigger Happy with the phone. Is like I didn't realise how big Trigger Happy happened like overnight. Just because I wasn't aware of it. It was the first thing I'd given in, and we gave it into Channel 4, and it went out because it's the 25th anniversary. It went out on the 14th of January 2000. I remember this because Victor Lewis Smith wrote the most amazing review he ever wrote in the Standard, saying by far the greatest comedy show of the millennium so far. It was 14 days in, but that's fine. I always take the so far off.
Yeah, sure,
And so anyway, the show went out on Friday, and then on the Monday, I remember I was on a train going from London to Oxford, and no one knew I was on that carriage. And that ringtone, because the joy, when I chose that ringtone, it was Grand Valse. I hated it. It was awful. But in between filming and Trigger Happy going out, Nokia, nothing to do with us, took Grand Valse and made it the Nokia tune. So if you didn't change your Nokia ringtone, it went off, and it became like a subliminal ad for Trigger Happy. But anyway, that ringtone went off, and 3 people on the carriage, this is 3 days after the first Trigger Happy, stood up and went, "Hello, I'm on a train." And I was like, fucking hell, what has happened? And it's been very weird since. I don't think there's been a single day, I swear to you. Just now, when I was walking down there, bloke just shouted, "Hello, I'm in King's Cross, it's rubbish." Every fucking day. I was in Pyongyang in North Korea. I think I was the only Western tourist there. But then the only other Western tourist saw me and went, "I'm in North Korea, it's rubbish." It's just weird.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Way, how that just.
And still, nobody's ever asked me to do an ad. Like, isn't that weird for phones? I think
Yeah, that is strange.
I think I'm a threat to them. It's like I can tell you what the ad is if you're listening. It's me being a twat, and then you literally go, "Don't be a twat. Use our phones." That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Isn't that weird though?
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Because you would have thought they'd have been. Yeah.
All
there's
over
no-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to someone ages ago at Vodafone. I bumped into them somewhere, and they said, "Oh yeah, we always saw you as a threat. Like what we shouldn't be." I go, "Yeah, that's why you do clever advertising." But anyway, if you're listening, definitely up for it.